Welcome to Story Power's 3-year anniversary episode titled Don't Retire, Do What You Love. I am talking with John Collado. This is episode 79. And he is not only a visual artist and does it just for the pleasure of creating art, but he's also a professional illustrator as well. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Story Power, a bi-monthly podcast where my guests and I chat about stories and creativity in all different styles and formats. My name is Lucinda Sage-Midgorden, and my goal is to promote what Dale Carnegie stated in his famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. He said, instead of condemning people, let's try to understand them. Let's try to figure out why they do what they do. That's a lot more profitable and intriguing than criticism, and it breeds sympathy, tolerance, and kindness. To know all is to forgive all. It's my firm belief that the goal of most creative people is to try to understand themselves and others. That's what makes artwork of all kinds so compelling. But more than that, the personal stories of my guests promote understanding as well. Roger C. Schenck, a cognitive scientist, said, human beings are not ideally set up to understand logic. They are ideally set up to understand stories. It's my hope that Story Power will help us understand each other better by sharing the stories of my guests. Today, my guest is John Collado. Did I say that correctly?
Perfectly.
Oh, good. And this is episode 79. John, welcome to the show.
Yeah, and thank you for having me.
And John contacted me through LinkedIn, and he's a graphic artist. You do illustrations for books, right?
Yeah, book covers, children's books, primarily.
Do you do graphic novels as well?
I haven't, but I'd be open to it. It's just graphic novels are a time-consuming project, so.
Oh, yeah, really? Yes. So this is your second career. Do you want to talk about your first career?
There's really not much to talk about. I mean, I've drawn all my life. So when I turned 17 in high school, everybody had tried to talk me into going to, art school, specifically the one in New York City there. Mm-hmm. And but I had this, I don't know what you'd call it, yearning to get into law enforcement. So I just worked, when I graduated, I worked odd jobs until actually in a hospital, but I worked there until I was able to get into the police academy. And my career went from there until I retired. I retired in the 90s. And then I went into illustration full time. I drew during that time, but not as much as I do now.
So that's so great that you finally got to follow your passion, because it sounds like drawing is your passion.
Yes. Yeah, I enjoy it. And I'm a traditional painter. But, when computers started rearing up in the end of the 90s for most people, and the software got better, that's when I started to slowly transition over to digital, because it saves a lot of time when you work with clients.
Oh, really? Yes. Yeah, it does. John and I were talking earlier about my husband is a graphic artist too. And he started off in college being a graphic artist, working on the college publications. And that was when you had a light board and you had to tape things to glue and tape. Yep. And
Yep, I remember those days.
all of that stuff. Now his degree is in visual arts. He loves pottery, and he's very good at drawing and painting, but pottery is his first love. However, life kind of got in the way. He hasn't done pottery in a while. He would like to get back to that, but he loves doing digital art too. And so when did you start doing digital art? Was it when you retired?
No, because in those years, the software, as far as I know, wasn't up to par as far as being able to create what I could create traditionally.
Oh,
So in the 90s, after I retired,
uh-huh.
I was still painting, and my medium back then was airbrush, acrylic
Oh.
airbrush. So, half the stuff that's on my website is traditional work,
Uh-huh.
especially the Star Trek art that I'm just a big Trekkie. I did so much of the art that I started traveling and going to a lot of conventions.
Oh,
So
cool.
I got to meet a lot of the actors and had a lot of my work signed by them. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, it was nice. So anyway, I transitioned from that point. Well, it just took off from there. I was still doing traditional work, but I was getting more commercial work in the early part of the 2000s. So, I found that the traditional was more difficult to make revisions and
Oh,
things.
yeah.
Where digital, of course, like your husband probably knows, you can fix things in seconds
Yes.
or change
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
That's when I started primarily. I haven't done any traditional work probably in the last 2 decades.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've gone full digital, and that's only, like I said, because it's easier to work with clients. I'm not a big company, or I'm not a big, I still work with indies and self-publishers and the little people like me. So,
Yeah.
but it's time consuming. It does fill my remaining years.
That's great. Yeah, my husband does that too. I mean, he has the country club newsletter in our small town. He does that. He's been doing that since 2011. And he does have a kind of a side business where he doesn't do graphics so much, but he helps people with their Mac problems and stuff. Because
Yeah.
I swear, in the 80s, when he was working at a company that did decals for big semi trucks.
Yep.
And so they bought all these Macs and sent all the graphic artists to training. And so, yeah, I called myself a computer widow because he read all the books. And
Probably knows a lot more than I do. I was on a Mac for a few years back in the early 2000s. I really enjoyed it, but when they got the Intel chip, a lot of the software left me behind, so I had to switch over to a PC.
Yeah, yeah. So he might go that route too. And he's thinking of retiring soon. And he said, man, there are so many freelance jobs available on LinkedIn. I might just do that. So
it's where I get most of my work. So
LinkedIn, yeah.
LinkedIn's a good social platform to work from.
Yeah.
I mean, you're working with like-minded business people, and
yes.
I've met so many nice people like yourself,
Uh-huh.
through the years. I've been on LinkedIn for a long time, so.
That's great. Now, where do you hail from?
Upstate New York. I'm in the Adirondack Mountains.
Oh, wow.
About 5 hours from the city.
I bet it's gorgeous up there.
Yeah. If you like pollen and you like 3 feet of snow in the winter, it's great.
Well, almost everywhere you go, you have pollen. There's just,
Yeah.
we live in the desert, and yeah, in the fall and in the spring when the desert bloom, I just, I have a hard time. So yeah, it's no matter where you go. And the mesquite when they're blooming too. So, but we don't have snow very often. So that's the nice thing about that. But I mean, if you're at home working on a project, you don't have to go outside anyway.
No. But if you want to get out to get groceries, you've got to clear that driveway.
Oh, that's true. Yes. And how do you do that? Do you do that by hand, or do you have a little machine?
My driveway is about 1/8 of a mile long, so I have a large tractor with a huge snowblower on it.
Oh, that's good.
That's how I clear my areas.
That's good.
My wife and I built our home.
Oh.
Way back we started in 1979. So,
wow.
Yeah, we've been here ever since. My wife's still working. She's in healthcare, and she could retire. She could have retired years ago, but she's still at it, and I guess she enjoys it very much. And
oh, that's good. The pandemic must have been hard on her, though.
Yes, as most healthcare people probably realize, there's so many restrictions and so many things you have to do to be safe.
I know. Yeah. Well, and not only that, but watching the people suffer, not being able to, especially early on, not knowing what to do to help them, and then watching so many of them die. Oh, that must have been horrible.
It's been more than 2 years.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God.
It's still ongoing. There's still issues.
I don't think I would be a very good nurse or doctor.
They've earned a lot of recognition over the past few years. So.
Well, and they need it too, because man, I have cousins. My cousin's son and daughter-in-law are both nurses, and they've had a really hard time. And so I do have other family members too in that profession, and my hat's off to them, because that's hard work.
Absolutely.
Even in the best of times, it's hard work.
Well, back in the day when I was waiting to get into the academy, I went to a hospital and I was an orderly, what they called an orderly back then. Where you assist the nurses and things and do the lifting and that kind of stuff. And I got a taste of what the nurses deal with, and a big difference from now, though, compared to what's going on now. It's just I got to give them a thumbs up for what they do.
Oh, yeah, really. Because, I get to sit out the pandemic at home teaching acting and, my theater classes. I don't have to deal with people who are sick. Oh, gee. Yeah.
Sounds like both of you and your husband are very creatives.
Yes, we are. Well, in fact, we met in choir. And then we were both in, this was my very first play. I can't believe I did a Shakespeare play for my very first play. In The Quality of Mercy is Not Strained. What's the name of that play? I'll put it in the show notes. And so we were in that play together. It was so fun. And then we just were, our circle of friends was the same. We were both in the same circle of friends. So that's sort of how it all developed.
Since you mentioned that, I'm a member of the authors. And I was approached on LinkedIn too. It's the Christian Authors Community. I've been with them now for over a year, and as an illustrator, it's a group of primarily authors, and they help each other and they help other people, publish their book from the beginning to the end, and I'm just listed as an illustrator there. So
that's cool. Yeah, my husband. Well, we published my book through Smashwords to begin with, and then we put it. And then for print on demand, we went through CreateSpace, which now, of course, is all taken over by Amazon. It was linked to Amazon at that time anyway. But so Barry had thought about being listed as an illustrator with Smashwords and maybe even Amazon. But he can't think of that until after he retires. So
it can be time consuming. It's not like I'm working 24/7, 365. My kind of position right now, and it's thankful that I'm retired. It's like a roller coaster. It's got its up and downs. There's times I'm not working at all, right, and other times I'm swamped.
Yeah.
So it's one of those deals. If you're retired, it's great because it's your time. And
right.
And you can spend it. And when you're not working, you can work on your own stuff.
Right. So, which he has a lot of things.
Probably does, especially if he's still working. So
he has a lot of things that he does on his own. Like one of the things he's working on right now, and I can say this because next month is my mom's 90th birthday, but we got this idea to put together a photo album book for her, and all the family members have contributed. And, some of them they're so faded that he has to go through and fix them and, adjust the color and so on and so forth. And this morning he said, I don't know. I'm not sure we're going to be able to get it done before your mom's birthday, because her birthday's on the 15th of July and we're having a big family reunion to surprise her for her 90th birthday. Well, I said, well, don't worry, because he's working on the newsletter this week. And I said, don't worry, we'll sit down, we'll just pick out some pictures. I mean, because there are hundreds of them, but we'll pick out the most important ones, and then we can just have it mailed to my sister,
Sounds like she's had a great life. 90 years. That's a lot of. Yeah.
Yes. And, we moved a lot too. So we have friends she has friends from a lot of different places in the country. So that's kind of nice.
My wife and I, we've been married. It'll be 45 years this year. And, we have one son.
Uh-huh.
And so we're way behind you. But our son, we had him at about our 20th year of marriage. So we waited.
Uh-huh.
And we had him. He's graduated college now, working for Corning as electrical engineer. So
wow.
He's well on his way, but he's not married. We have no grandkids yet. We're way behind.
Yeah.
So
well, Barry and I don't have any children, so we just enjoy his brother's kids and one grandchild, because one of his daughter's not married. But, and the other side has, we have 5 or 6 great grand nieces and nephews. So that'll be fun, because we haven't met a lot of them. So we'll get to meet them next month.
Where's this party going to be?
Cannon Beach, Oregon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The famous Haystack Rock. That's
okay.
That's where Cannon Beach is. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fun. She wanted to go there. She wanted to go to the Oregon coast. So, and she lives near my youngest sister, who has, her daughter's going to be 20 the week after my mom turns 90. And then her son is 14. So they have she has the youngest grandkids, but, they live in Kent, Washington, which is near Seattle. That's where, and mom lives in a retirement community there. Mm-hmm. So, so it's a quick drive to the coast. Well, they have to drive to Portland. From Portland, it's a quick drive. It's about an hour.
Your drive is a bit, or are you flying?
We're driving.
Okay.
We priced it out, and it was going to be cheaper to drive. And then, of course, the gas prices went up. But I think it's still going to be cheaper to drive because we have a hybrid.
Airfare's probably, that's up too. So
yeah, we have a hybrid vehicle, so doesn't take as much gas.
Yeah.
And Barry did all this, gas buddy card and all these things to help us. Yeah. So we're going through Nevada. I haven't been to Nevada in a while, so that'll be fun.
I've never been. I don't think I've ever been west of Ohio. So
Ohio's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I had a sister and her family that lived in Ohio for a while. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, most of my conventions, Star Trek conventions, I was from Maine to Florida, but I've never gone any farther than Ohio westwise. So
yeah, we were in New York once, New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a cousin who lives in Vermont. In 1996, we sold our house and took a trip around the world to visit people that we knew and go places we wanted to go. Our launching off place was New York City. And so we took the time to go up to Maine to visit a college friend and go to Vermont to see my aunt and uncle who were alive then, and my cousin. And so I had never been to New England, and it was so beautiful. And the Atlantic Ocean is a different color than the Pacific Ocean.
That I can't. I've never seen the Pacific, so I can't say anything about that. But
but that's the only time. I mean, it's the farthest I ever went. Other than that was like Arkansas or something.
Yeah.
I take it back. We did go to South Carolina when my brother-in-law worked for the Border Patrol, and he was working at the Border Patrol Academy there in Charleston. And so we did go there. That's another beautiful part of the country. I mean, there are so many beautiful parts of the country, just in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've never been to upstate New York. I'll have to go there sometime.
Don't come in the winter.
No, we won't. Because Barry and I are already talking. We're taking some of our winter clothes just in case, because it can be cold on the Oregon coast in July.
I mean, they don't get a lot of snow or anything, but they get a lot of rain.
Yeah, and it's cold. It's when it's wet and cold.
Yeah.
We used to live in Portland, so we kind of know the drill. Yeah. So, are you working on any fun projects right now?
I've got 4 in the works right now. I got a couple of book covers. I'm working on. I do a lot of political satire too. So I'm working with a client on a couple of. Well, they're not really cartoons; they're more collages for the midterm election coming up in November. Trying to think, what else do I have going on? There's another project too. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
That's what happens when we get old.
No, because I jump between them. You know, I work my deadlines, so you know I meet all my deadlines. So you know I work them. Like last night, I worked on 2 different projects at the same time. So I go back and forth. But yeah, at my age, you lose a lot when it comes to memory. So
I know. As I can't even think of the name of the play now. that Barry and I were in.
I'm doing the primary one I'm doing right now. It's a 7-book series for it's a youth aid children's book, and it's kind of similar to a Harry Potter storyline. And I'm working on the 2nd book now.
Oh, nice. That's cool. What is your favorite? Do you like working on children's books because there are more illustrations, or what's your favorite?
I think my favorite to work on, I mean, I enjoy children's books. I enjoy book covers and everything. I just finished a project. It would have been in December for a company in Wyoming, and it was a poster I did for their movie. And it was that if you go to their website, it's called snakemelkers.com. And it's a group of professional snowboarders, and they travel all over. And there's one place that they did the movie, I believe was in Wyoming. And it's Snake River. And the whole painting is a collage of all the professional snowboarders, the scenery and the places where they snowboard and everything. And it's all done like a movie poster would be done. You know, like you see a Star Wars movie poster where you see the whole barrage of parts of the movie and thing. I think I enjoy that the most. That's if you go to my website and you look at the Star Trek stuff, you'll get a good idea of what I mean by that. So
yeah. Well, I saw the portrait or whatever it was you did of Leonard Nimoy as Spock, which I thought that was really great. Did you get to meet him?
Spock was Leonard was the only one I did not meet. I mean, I met most of everyone else. Shatner. There's only a few. I didn't meet DeForest Kelley, who played the Doctor. He and Leonard were the 2 out of that group that I have not met. And of course, now they're both gone. So
yeah. Well,
Leonard didn't do a whole lot of conventions. So
he didn't do those? Huh. That's interesting. Yeah. We saw a documentary by his son about him that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It was so good.
It's fascinating. You know, that was the time I was growing up. So that's the Star Trek I like the best.
Right. Yes. We did. We liked it too. And then after Barry and I got married, we watched, Next Generation. So and then, well, we've watched them all except for now. We haven't watched the new ones yet because we're streaming and we don't have Paramount Plus. But eventually we will get it because we want to continue our Star Trek because we love it too. Yeah.
I haven't done any Star Trek work in years. So probably last piece I did was the end of the 90s. So
yeah. Oh, that's too bad. But
I'm working on an Outlander piece right now. I don't know if you watch Outlander.
Well, I've read the first 4 books and I've seen the first 3 seasons, I think.
Seasons? Yep.
Yeah.
We're up to 6 seasons now. Anyway, I've got it. It's like a collage of the most important characters and everything.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
That's a personal project. It's not for, any,
It's
I don't have any license for, the property or anything. I'm just doing it for myself because I enjoy the show.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the books are so dense. There's so much history, so much going on, so much, so much going on with the characters inside their heads and between them. And after the 4th book, I went, I think I have to take a break for a while because it was so intense.
There's an author I've done a lot of covers for. A lot of his stories have a lot of time travel in it, in a different fashion, but I got a thing for time travel too. It's, it's imaginative and I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. So
yes. Yeah, my book has that too. It has 2 timelines, and the 2 women are, the woman in the present is the 3 times great granddaughter of the woman in the past. So she finds her journals, and when she starts reading them, her consciousness enters her 3 times great grandmother. So that's how I did it. That's how I did it because, I didn't want her to leave her life because she has things she has to deal with in her current life. But her living life with her 3 times great grandmother helps her get through some of her hard times.
So did she time travel?
Her consciousness did, not her body.
Is it kind of similar to, what was that movie, Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves?
Right, yes. Or what's the other one?
So many.
Where he goes to Mars.
Not John Carter.
Yes, John Carter.
Disney's John Carter.
His body stays,
yes,
and his consciousness goes. But in my case, I just had no time transpire in her present life while she was gone.
Okay.
Because I didn't know how to deal with.
John Carter was one of my favorites.
Yes, I really liked that whole series. That was fun. It was just a fun adventure thing. My husband had read all of the Tarzan movies what's that author's name that he had read?
Rice Burroughs?
Yeah, Edgar Rice Burroughs. Right. Yeah. He read all the Tarzan ones, he said, when he was in high school, I think, but not the John Carter ones. So Princess of Mars. That's the first one. Yeah.
Yep. Princess of Mars. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I've read about 4 or 5 of those. Anyway, they were fun. Yeah. So do you have any, what's your favorite genre to read?
To read? Science fiction.
Science fiction. Oh, that's right. You said that on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, I don't read as much as I should. It's not so much, I think it's age. I really do. I get reading and it's like, I fall asleep. And it's not because the story's bad. It's
right.
just me. Mm-hmm. So, when I work with an author, I don't read their books. It's impossible to do that. I usually ask for a synopsis and they supply me with basically everything in a 2-page.
Uh-huh.
And then I speak with them and we discuss any other details that they want included. And that's how I work with them.
Yeah. And then you do you offer more than one possible cover?
I start with a draft based on their synopsis and what they tell me. I usually, we do everything. If they're in the US, we do everything by phone. So I ask, what I need. And as they talk to me, I start developing images in my head. And so I start with a draft and I send that draft and we work from that. I mean, it could take several drafts to pull out what they see in their heads.
Right.
To get it out visually. So,
Yeah.
it depends on, that's the easiest way for me to grasp their story.
Yeah. Is to hear them talk about it.
Visually, yeah. So it can be several drafts.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're picky. It's just that I'm trying to get as much detail from them as I can.
And for them.
Yes.
Yeah. To make it look the way they're having.
They know what their cover wants to, they know what they want it to look like. So what I have to do is try to get that out of their head to put it down so they can see it.
Right, because I'm not an artist, visual artist myself, and so when I was talking to Barry, we had to do kind of the same process, although we have a shorthand since we're married. But yeah, it was easy, pretty easy actually. Once I told him kind of what I was thinking, and he got it, and so. I don't think he did very many. I think he only did a couple of drafts of it, or maybe three drafts of it. But yeah,
it saves trying to do 2 or 3 different ones because you could be wasting your time.
Right.
I try to get as much detail as I can and try to envision what they see.
Yeah,
what's in their heads.
I kind of like that. Sounds like a really great process. So you do something, you send it to them, they tweak it, or they ask you
go
to
back
do
and forth. Yep. They
Yeah.
want something moved. They want something added. They want something taken out, or maybe the angle's not the way they see it.
Or the colors.
Authors aren't as picky. Some are, but it's what it's their book. They want to have their covers, and you want to make sure that it's a really good cover. Because that's the first thing people see on a shelf, or if it attracts their attention to open the book.
Yeah. Right. Yes. And the hardest part I had, which doesn't really apply to what you do, but I had a hard time writing the blurb. And then sometime later, I came up with a better one, but I've never gone to change it. So I have to go back and change the blurb on all those outlets where my book is, because the one I came up with later was better. So... yeah.
I don't get in. I only do the illustration. I offer it. They supply me normally when they're ready to publish their book. If they're doing it on Amazon or anything, Amazon will supply them with a template.
Right.
Front and back cover, spine, the whole thing based on the pages, the amount of pages. And they supply me. I usually ask for the template so I can get the illustration exact.
Right.
And I normally don't do the text or the font or anything, but I will include it. Because Amazon doesn't offer a lot of fonts, I guess. They're kind of limited in their fonts for self-publishing.
I don't know. Barry's the one who laid it out for me. So,
I can include the font, but I don't get involved in that end of it as much. It's just the illustration I try to do. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, he did the whole layout for me too.
A graphic artist does that. It's something I really don't want to get involved in. So.
Yeah. Yeah, he's used to it because he's been doing it so many years.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm self-taught. He's got so much more, I think, for going to he's probably got a 4-year degree in the arts, and he just knows so much more than I do, probably. So
yeah. But you use some of the same applications and programs, and because he uses all those Adobe Suite things and all of that. InDesign, he uses those.
Yep.
I don't know.
Layout. Yep.
Yeah, I don't even know what any of that means.
Well, I mean, I used to use Photoshop, but I went to something else that I really like, and it's almost as good as Photoshop. It's called Clip Studio Paint. The creators are from Japan, surprisingly enough, and I've been with them for well over a decade, and I use their software for everything.
That's cool.
This is just for painting.
Yes.
I don't do any layouts. I don't do any design work like your husband does.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, doing that newsletter since 2011, And of course, that's what he does for the city too, where we
Yeah.
live. So, well, we don't live in the city, we live in the country, but um, it's north of us, about half an hour. And so he's just used to doing that.
Yeah. I mean, he has a lot more experience than I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And before that, he did do other kinds of artwork. So the company where they did the fleet designs for the trucking companies, that wasn't nearly as involved. But then he worked for a medical company where he did all their publications and stuff like that. So, well, do you have any are you ever going to actually retire, or are you just going to keep doing this until?
No, I do this right until I drop.
Yeah.
I don't see, I enjoy what I do. So
Yes.
I can't ever see it. It's like, I don't know, it's a hobby for me. So,
right.
I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
So if I'm not working for anyone, I would still paint for myself. So, if my hand starts to shake or my eyes finally go completely, then I guess I got to stop. But
Yeah.
it happens to all artists, I guess, eventually.
Yes, probably that's true. Yeah. But I know what you mean because I started my podcast 2 years ago. It's almost 2 years old. And I love it. I'm just going to keep doing it. I don't care if I don't really make money.
You're a good moderator. You're a good hostess. So
oh, thank you. Probably
you make it very, very relaxing to talk. So
oh, that's good. Probably has something to do with all those years of teaching.
You were a teacher.
Yes, I taught public school. Actually, I worked in daycare centers and child development centers and Montessori schools and all of that as a teacher's aide from when I was 18. And then when I got my master's in theater, I started teaching little kids drama classes at the parks and recreation departments and stuff like that, and homeschooled children. And then I did a stint in gifted and talented at a school for a while. And then when we moved to Arizona, the town was pretty small and it was hard to find work. So I started working as a substitute teacher at the high school exclusively because I tried to do little kids and I was too old. I was too tired to chase them around. And most of the substitute teachers didn't want to substitute at the high school. So they were so grateful that I just wanted to substitute at the high school. And the drama teacher asked me to do a long-term sub assignment. It was like a couple of weeks because her daughter was having a baby and she was going to go away. And when she came back, she found out I had a master's in theater and she said, I'm going to retire in a year. You need to apply for my job. Well, I didn't have an education degree, but Arizona at that time had this program where you could work for 2 years as on an emergency certification as long as you were working towards your certification. And so that's what I did. And I taught for 2 years at that school. And then somebody wanted my job. So I got kicked out right after I got my certification.
But you got your certification.
I did. I got my master's in education and I got my certification. And so I went to Douglas, Arizona is a border town. And I went there and taught English. And I had lots of literature credits because, I was the theater person. You have lots of literature credits. So I was highly qualified English teacher with all those literature credits and had fun teaching English. The first year I was teaching 7th grade. I didn't have fun teaching that. but when I got to the high school, it was really fun, but it was an hour away. I had to get up at 4:00 in the morning and I had to drive an hour to get there. And I did get to direct plays and I did get to teach one drama class and that was fun. But after about 5 years, I was so tired of that. So I stopped doing that and started teaching part-time at the college. So yeah, I've been teaching for a long time. And, I know how to turn it on when I get to class. And then when I get home, I'm like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
so tired. But yeah, it's fun. I just love doing the podcast. And I have a blog and I'm working on a second novel. And so I have a lot of things that I do that are just fun, like you.
Yep. I agree.
When Barry and I got married, we've been married this year will be 42 years for us. So when we got married, we said, we don't want to retire. We want to just keep doing our creative stuff. I mean,
Like
we'll
you say, though,
retire.
life changes. Yep.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we'll retire from the job
Yes.
and then we'll just do our creative stuff. So, but we've tried to maintain that, our creativity through the years as we've worked. So,
Well, I would be out of business if it wasn't for the internet.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? I couldn't do what I do now. I mean, I really don't go anywhere. I stay here and I work in my home, my studio. And if it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't be doing this because I'm not in any, mood to travel anymore. So
I know. Yeah.
And you can't, so the internet is like, you can get your stuff out there. There's so many people and
yeah,
without it,
right.
I wouldn't be.
Well, and I haven't done a whole lot of work or connecting with people on LinkedIn. About a year. Well, it's been a year. Flag Day was my 1-year anniversary with Podmatch. When I started my podcast, I was just talking to my colleagues at the college and former students and college friends and family. And I was starting to run out of ideas of where to get guests. And Podmatch contacted me, and it's a dating service for podcasters and guests. And so I joined them. I joined for free at first. And oh man, I'm having to suspend my host profile because I'm working on a year from now, 2023. I have enough recordings, and even just like today, I have 2 more recordings after you that will take me through August of 2023. So I'm going to have to suspend that for a while. But then I have had 2 or 3 other people that I met through LinkedIn that were just fabulous guests. So I decided, I need to do more work with LinkedIn. So I'm paying attention to it more now.
Oh, yeah. I'll be happy to forward your information too to my connections on LinkedIn because
okay.
I'll repost.
Thanks. I know what it's like to try to market your work.
It's the toughest part of any project.
Oh,
it really
it's
is.
so hard. Yeah, I mean, I wrote my book and it came out in 2017 and I haven't sold very many copies because I don't know anything really about marketing. Although little by little I'm learning. So, and when I get my second book, there are only going to be 2 in the series. I can market them together.
Right.
So and I've had some guests who've given me some tips and things. So, yeah, one of the things I'm doing is I'm putting all my episodes up on YouTube finally. I've had a YouTube channel for a long time because I videotape the acting scenes and then I put them up and only the people who have the link can see them. But I want the students to see themselves in their scenes. And so, but I'm revamping it now for Story Power. So,
okay, I'm looking at your link here. You have your Patreon link on the email that I got, and that's your website, right? Story Power Life. Or is that's your
it's Sage Woman Chronicles is my website. You can access my books because I have a children's book, and the space between time there. You can access my blog, and I just had an episode air today. Story Power episode. It's only every other week. See, that's partly why I'm so working so far ahead because
I didn't know you were on YouTube. I'll check you out there.
Yeah,
because, I watch YouTube all the time.
Oh, great. Well, I only just did my trailer for Story Power on Monday. So I'm going to upload that today probably. And then I'll start uploading beginning at the very beginning episode. I'll start uploading episodes. I have 50 something episodes now.
Yeah, you can be, I can see you being consistent on YouTube. I don't think I have enough to be consistent on YouTube. So that's why I haven't started there yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a lot of already finished projects that I can just upload.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not going to do those every other week. I'll just, to start with, I'm just going to upload as many as I can to catch up to where I am now.
Yeah.
Then I will upload them every other
People
week.
on YouTube, like, and I know this, that when you watch somebody on YouTube, you want to know when they're going to post again. You want to get an idea, because that's being consistent, and you'll start a really good following.
Yeah. Well, and I have one of my students that I talked to early on Story Power also had a podcast, and it was only on YouTube, and it was not video. It was just audio. That's what I do. I just do audio.
Yeah.
And because I'm 69 and I don't feel like, getting up and doing my hair and doing makeup and blah, blah. I did that for years and years, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Well, I actually put clothes on today, so I figured you'd be seeing me. So, well,
I do wear clothes. Yeah. But mostly I just have a set of sort of home clothes.
Yes.
And, so it's not going to be video. I do know people on Podmatch who have both. They have the video one for YouTube, and then they have the audio one for all the other outlets.
I've been interviewed by another podcast outfit, and they're out of the UK. It's they're on YouTube, and it's a literary license podcast is what it's called, and they deal with a lot of horror and science fiction, and they discuss movies versus books, and literary license podcast.
Okay.
And they originate out of the UK, but they have people that regulars on their podcast from the US too.
Yeah. I'll have to go see if they're on Podmatch.
Yeah, I do their promotion illustrations for
cool.
their giveaways and things when they do t-shirts and carry bags and things like that. So.
Yeah, see, that's the cool thing Barry wants to do for my Patreon community is t-shirts and mugs.
Nice. It really is.
And he did all my artwork, for the podcast, because it had to be square. And I mean, I have another logo that he made for me too. That is the banner on my Patreon page, although he needs to go fix it. It's not quite the right size, but yeah. So I'll look them up because that sounds fun. I have decided, because I'm also a guest on Podmatch. So I've decided I'm just going to be a guest for a while, for a few months.
Yeah.
And not record. After I record these other two women, I'm not going to record anymore until maybe January of 2023, and just be a guest for a while and promote my podcast and my Patreon page, and do YouTube stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and also I had a guest a couple of weeks ago who used to work for MTV, and he still works in the entertainment industry. I'm not quite sure what he does now, but he said I could put my podcast up on Internet Movie Database, which my ears went, what? Because I love that site. And he said, oh yeah, they're starting to, you could be the producer of your podcast and put it up on IMDb. And so sometime soon I want to do that as well. But I'm my only staff member. Occasionally Barry helps me with tech things if I get stuck.
Uh-huh.
But being my only, I don't have it. I'm not like some of the podcasts that I listen to that have a whole staff of people that do that, help them with their social media and help them with their YouTube and help them with their Patreon. I don't have that. So I have to.
You're not alone. And it's difficult. I mean, I still don't understand a lot of the social media. The only place I am on primarily, even though I have links on other places, the only one I really am active at is LinkedIn. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do have Facebook, an author's page and personal page on Facebook, and I have one on Instagram, and I have other ones, but I don't pay attention to them anymore. And so I'm starting to pay attention. Well, Goodreads is another one that I have. And somebody just told me about one it's like Goodreads, but it's for movies that I'm probably going to check out. But Goodreads is more like where you keep track of the books that you've read and people recommend books to you and stuff. It's a little different than LinkedIn. But, I thought I just went yesterday and tried to connect with a bunch of writers because, because I love having writers and artists on my podcast. I want people who are creative on my podcast because that's what stories are all about. I've had, and I've also had clinical psychologists, and I had a forensic psychologist on, but everything that I do is all about stories. It's either the personal stories or, the stories that we consume. So, or that we help create like you. Well, I have enjoyed this so much. Thank you, John, for contacting me. It's been so fun.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I enjoyed this very much. And if I can help you out in any way, or I'll definitely promote your link on or links on my LinkedIn group. And, when this podcast comes out, I'll throw that on there too. And
good.
Just stay in touch. Anybody that wants to visit my portfolio and look at what I've done, just type in my name or type in johncolladoart.com or just johncollado.com. And, have a,
I think you sent me
enjoy.
That. Yeah, I think you sent me that. So and I'm assuming that some of the stuff that you have on your website is for sale?
No, I don't sell anything. It's just
you don't
my
sell
portfolio
anything.
Is just what it is. I send people there. This website stuff with SEO and search engine optimization, all this. I don't do any of that. And I just use my website primarily to send potential clients to.
That's so that they can see your work and then decide if they want you to be
right.
Okay.
If it's a style that they like, it's something that they can see their book being done in. And they can contact me from there. That's all it is. It's just my portfolio. So
got it. Okay.
I really don't care if they can't find me on the internet. If somebody's just looking to have a portrait done or something and they can't find me, that's okay.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll cross my path, but there's so many artists. There's so many artists as there is so many authors.
I'm kind of with you. I had a guest a couple of days ago who that's his thing. Helping people market their stuff. And he, that this is how you get, up in the ranks on Google. And I'm like, I'm happy to post this podcast, but I'm just, I'm too old maybe to worry about that or think about it.
It's like the old dog learning new tricks. It's like leave it for somebody else or just don't do it. And I know it probably hurts business, but I put my son on the computer when he was age 3.
Wow.
And he passed me up in about a year.
Yeah.
So, I'm way behind on everything now. So I just do my art and that's it.
Well, and that's kind of what I decided. I'm just going to do my podcast. And yes, there are certain things that I had, like I had to go learn how to use GarageBand and how to edit, and because I do all that myself. And then I had to go relearn how to use iMovie, and I just did a trailer for my YouTube channel, and I wasn't very happy with it on Monday. And then I went and looked at it this morning, and I went, "Why was I so upset with it? It's fine."
I always go back. I don't finalize anything. I always leave it and I come back to it a day or two later and look at it again. And that'll tell me whether it's done, whether I like it or I don't like it.
Right, exactly. Well, and I don't do that so much anymore with my blogs, but I used to do that with my blog too. I'd write a rough draft and then go away, and then a day or two later I'd come back and reread it and revamp it. And but now I can do them pretty quickly. But I do not have very much creative writing in my background at all. So from 2013 till now, I've learned how to be a writer just by writing. So
I'm not even going to attempt it. So it's not my genre. It's not what I do. I just work with them. That's all.
Artwork is your genre. Yeah. Well, thank you again. And I will definitely keep in touch with you.
Well, thank you again for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
And good luck to you. And
thank you.
We'll probably talk again sometime.
Yes. And good luck to you too. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you liked what you heard, please share it with a friend and give us a rating and/or review on your favorite podcast app. It will help people find us. You'll find the show notes for this episode at my website, sites.libsyn.com/477936. You can leave a comment there. I also invite you to come and join my Patreon community at patreon.com/storypower, all one word. It's my hope to build a community where we discuss the stories we love and talk about what we learned from them. I also offer extra audio content and story suggestions to my patrons. Remember, as Philip Pullman said, after nourishment, shelter, and companionship, stories are the thing we need most in the world. Let's spread the story love. Until next time, this is Lucinda Sage-Midgorden. Thanks for listening.